Failing to prepare is preparing to fail. When it comes to race day, we don't want any surprises or any curveballs. We just want to be able to focus on the job at hand. And with less than 6 weeks left until race day, there are some items we need to be getting done now to make sure that that happens. It's week 9 of marathon training. Running a marathon is a colossal achievement. The marathon is an absolute beast. It demands your 100% all. You don't want to get to the start line having spent the previous 24, 48 hours scrambling around, trying to find last minute accommodation, working out where to go, how you're going to get to places, a ton of other things. All that's going to do is add unnecessary stress and anxiety that you do not need on race day. And there are things you can do today, yes, 6 weeks out from the marathon, that will go a long way to contributing to you being able to give 100%. So here is my pre-race checklist. So my original plan was to go back and repeat 88 kilometres again this week. But in all honesty, after the flare up this left glute, I would take 80 kilometres, think that's doable. What I'd quite like to do is something like 14 today, 14 tomorrow, 14 on Thursday, and then squeeze an 8-kilometre run Friday or Saturday, because I'd still like to do the long run on Sunday if possible. And I'd quite like the long run to be 32 kilometres with 3 times 6k at marathon pace. First one is race registration. When was the last time you logged in to your race registration? Because now's the time to double check everything looks good. Also, double check your predicted finish time, because that will determine whereabouts you start in the race. Will you start near the front, in the middle? Because if you leave it empty, you will start at the back. Familiarise yourself with the course map and elevation. You need to be knowing now where the hills are. For example, when I ran Brighton, I did the research before the race, and I knew to expect a hill at around mile 4, just after you pass the pavilions, going back away from the seafront. And then the next ones were at the far end, the far east of the course. There are 2 hills, so it was during the race, there was no surprises. Another thing I researched at Brighton was the dreaded power station. Fortunately, that's not on this year because they've altered the route. But whilst Brighton is a great marathon for spectators and support, it was well known that that route up to the power station was pretty sparse. And that is around mile 22, the part of the race where you could do with the cheering and the support the most. But at least I knew to expect that, so it wasn't a surprise. So I did have a look at Manchester Marathon elevation map, and it does look like there's one hill I need to be aware of, and that, just to know, it looks like in the last, 4 miles, it's a very, very gentle, slight uphill. And then you also want to be double checking the water situation. What I mean is, how are they going to give you the water? If they're in plastic water bottles, that's fairly straightforward. However, they may well be in paper cups. That was the situation in Brighton. I knew that was going to be the situation. I practiced, but there was still no nice way to run and drink from them at the same time. It was an unusually hot day as well. Hydration was so important to get right, and I certainly didn't get that right on the day. Great, that is 14 kilometres done, 5:37 average pace and 139 beats per minute average heart rate. And the elevation gain there was 208 metres. Just feeling twinges in the left glute now. Again, no better, no worse. Nice and mild, so I think we're going to be okay on that. Took the day off yesterday and did some strength training. Travel and accommodation. Have you worked out where are you going to sleep the night before the race? If you need accommodation, get that booked now. Work out the travel to the accommodation. And don't forget the night before the race, where are you sleeping then? You may need to go and pick up your race bib number. So you've got to work out how you're going to get from your accommodation to the race HQ. The next one you can sort out now is race day transportation. Do you know how you're going to get to the start line. Are you going to drive there? Have you got your parking sorted? At Manchester Marathon, you can book your parking tickets already. And then what about from the car park to the start line? See, at Brighton, it's park and ride, so you need to get a shuttle bus. And the one I'm yet to figure out is I have booked a hotel for Manchester, and it should be walking distance to the start line, but I've got a feeling I may need to cross the marathon route to get to the start area. Can I even cross there? Will there be barriers up? I don't really want to have to walk an unexpected extra kilometre just because I didn't look into where the crossing points were. So now is the time to start planning all this out, so as you can just be running on autopilot come race morning. Alright, 15 kilometres done at 5:26 average pace and 1:37 average heart rate in the snow on the 8th of March 2023. Who'd have thought spring would be like this? And here's another thing you need to have a good idea about now, and that's pre-race meals. What are you going to have for breakfast on the morning of the race? Are you staying in a hotel? Are you going to trust a hotel breakfast? Personally, I'm not. I'll be taking an old takeaway box with me, and I'm going to make overnight oats. And in the morning, it's just ready to eat. And it's a breakfast I've practiced with many, many times before. Not just breakfast. What about dinner the day before? See, if you're out in a new place, you're staying in a hotel, you're likely going to eat in a restaurant, just have something relatively plain and not too much. And also not too late. If you're eating at 8, 9 o'clock at night, that might not be enough time for all that to be fully digested. The next one is your race pack pickup. Do you know what the situation with that is? For Manchester, I believe it's being posted to my home address. So right now I'm not expecting to have to collect it the day before. But many marathons you have to go to the expo a day or two before. So work that into your plans. At Brighton, I picked mine up the day before. I thought it was going to be quite straightforward, but by the time you found parking, by the time you walked all the way to collect your race number, bag, and all the other bits, I ended up walking over 20,000 steps the day before a marathon, which nobody wants to do. See what you can do now, reduce the number of steps you do to maximise that rest on the day before. Man, that's just given me the fright of my life. That was just right here. Alright, 15 kilometres done in the rain at 5:25 average pace and 1:36 average heart rate. Good news is, I cannot feel anything in the left glute now. Wait, I do feel a little bit of mild discomfort, and it seems to have moved from the glute round to the front towards the sort of quad area. I think it's minor and trivial, so hopefully nothing to worry about. So that's a pre-race checklist that I think is useful, themed more around logistics, but if you can get all these things done now, weeks before race day, it's going to make for a more stress-free race. Now in the next video, I'm going to cover an actual race day checklist. Well, that's 11.2 kilometres done, average pace 5:18 and average heart rate of 1:37. Legs feeling a little bit tired today from the strength training I did yesterday. Just 5 weeks till race day now, so looking to bank a really good solid long run today. Today's long run is going to be 33 kilometres. Water purchased, so normal service now is to hide it in a bush just around the corner, and then I'm going to do some 5k laps around where I've hidden the water, and I guess that's the best I can do in terms of simulating what the race will be. Because the race will have water roughly every 5 kilometres. So it's nice and mild this morning, 8 degrees, which means I can practice race day kit. So I've got my singlet on, half tights, race shoes, race socks, the flip belt as well. Got a couple of gels in my pockets, a couple of gels in the flip belt, and of course carrying this camera to take you on the journey with me. I'm now in the 10th kilometre, so the plan is now 3 by 6k at marathon pace. Marathon pace today is 4:30 kilometre pace, so we're looking for 27-minute 6Ks. I've set up the workout on the Garmin, I've switched off auto lap. I'm going with a 1k float between reps, then I'll have a 2k cool down at the end. And I've just realised I've planned the perfect 33 kilometre route, going out one way, coming back a different way, but I've gone and left my jacket hidden in a bush on the way out, so I'm going to have to go back that way. Right, 10 kilometres is up, hit the lap button, time to concentrate. First rep done, 26:48, that's a 4:28 average pace. Heart rate peaking at 162, so a little bit higher than I'd like. I can just feel this left glute start to get like that annoying wasp, you know, the one that just won't leave you alone, keeps coming back. But then already half a kilometre into this float, it already feels like it's subsided. I think we can continue this. It's the dreaded Garmin. Right. Rep 2, second 6k. That's the second 6k done, 26:32. The heart rate got a little higher, 166. Can still feel the glute, but not as bad as the first rep. It's a 4:26 average pace. Feels okay, as in it's an effort, but it's not that hard. But in all honesty, 4:26 does scare me for the full marathon. No faster than this for the next rep. Done. It always feels good when the hard work's done. That actually ended up being the slowest out of all of them, 26:49. Heart rate there peaking at 165, so actually a little bit lower than the previous one. Don't want to be littering, let's put this in the nearest bin. Savage. That ended up being 35 kilometres. I ended up jogging back the long way home. 4:56 average pace and a 1:48 beats per minute average heart rate. That was 3 by 6 kilometres at marathon pace, aiming for 27 minutes. The splits were 26:48, 26:31 and then 26:48, so all sub 27 minutes. So really pleased to bank that long run. As for the week, I've ended up finding myself on 90.4 kilometres this week. That's a new record for me, never done anything like that before. Tanda Race Predictor has me down for a 3:19.53 prediction. The net heart rate efficiency has dropped slightly to 1.375. To be honest, the last couple of weeks I have felt a little bit sluggish relative to the previous 2 weeks, if that makes sense. And then the Garmin Race Predictor now has me down for a 3:12.52 prediction. Right now I can't feel the glute, so fingers crossed it just wanted to remind me that it is there. So I think I still need to just be careful and just keep an eye on it. But really good week. If you got this far in the video, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.